I was so interested in seeing what him and Quinn Ewers do this year. There's been so much hype.
We should have a pretty dangerous running back in Blake Corum.
Maryland's gone. Talia Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
A little too backyard footballers for
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football. And you know what day it is. It's Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Tuesday. And if it's Tuesday, I got to be with my guy, my main man and host of Restoring the Roar, Mr. Alex Loosemore. What up, Alex?
Not too much, man. Excited. We're getting closer and closer. This mascot mashup challenge we got going on. Results were insane.
Yes.
And yeah, we're almost there.
Yeah.
Almost there.
That mascot challenge had a lot of coin flips.
It did, yeah.
It's getting closer. I like that. Even though there was one. Oh, yeah. Even though there was one that was just a blowout that was far and out.
Oh, yeah. One that was not even close.
Right. Did everybody decide to vote on this one and just go this way? So it was crazy. It was crazy. But look, ladies and gentlemen, this is Let's Talk College Football. We are glad you're here. Scott, we see you. You said first. Shout out to you, buddy. I know you've been waiting.
Yeah.
Hey, look, college football is right here. 66 days until the season starts. Starting to get tickets for some of these games. Are you going to any games this fall?
So we're trying to decide a family sports trip this year. One of them is go back to the Detroit area and go to Michigan and Rutgers.
Ooh.
And then I believe that same weekend is Lions Falcons. The other one we're talking about going to Tampa in October and doing the Lions Bucks game. And I might have to see if there's like a USF game or something going on that weekend.
Hey, hit it, man. Let me know, man, because I definitely might want to come. I'm trying to hit as many college games as possible. Will Kramer and myself are already going to try to do the North Carolina versus South Carolina game on September 2nd.
That should be awesome.
Oh, yeah. So I'm hyped about that. I want to see what happens. You see Scott saying go Mizzou, and then says Truman was ahead and there should not have been a coin flip. I'm sorry, man. I can't. Scott, we tried, buddy. I'm sorry.
Well,
wow. This guy. There it is. We saw what Chief Osceola did. But look, let's get into it. We're getting closer and closer to the season, so we're actually starting to getting some stories and things that are going on in season that might have a serious impact. And Alex, I think we have to start right here. Coach Prime's health concerns. Yeah. You saw it just like I did. The news came out over the last 48 hours about him potentially having to have his foot amputated. Looking further into that story, man, him being 55 years old, I didn't realize he actually had a couple toes amputated because of some complications from before. That's crazy to think, man. I mean, but what could this do for him this year? I mean, we saw him on that crutch or, whatever that was at Jackson State.
That little cart or whatever, yeah.
Right.
It's going to present more of a challenge because obviously not being able to walk is enough of a challenge already there. And we don't know what sort of recovery time he'll have. All that, we're about a month away from fall camp starting. So if this doesn't happen like right away, it could be happening right at the beginning of fall camp there. I hope he gets to keep his foot. Yeah. It's just circulation problems are a pain to deal with, and especially for a guy that just hopped up to Div 1.
Right.
This could be trouble for the start of their season.
Yeah. And that's a shame, man. You don't want this to derail their season and be something that just takes over the headlines and everything like that. But this is serious. This is serious. I mean, we all looked at him at Jackson State and we saw him on the card, but it was just like, I don't know. Me personally, Alex, I didn't take it as seriously. I just thought it was another one of Deion's antics. This is him. Oh, look at him. He's still prime. He's got this nice little scooter, and it's like, okay, oh look, it's just prime time being a showman. But I didn't realize it was this serious. The crazy part to me, and let me know if you feel about this. We know Prime for what? His speed, his ability to run the ball,
athleticism.
Exactly. If this happens, does that take a little bit away from his flair? Like, we've seen clips of him at like some of the greats, Ocho Cinco and Terrell, and him kind of lining up in front of them, and it's like, playing that little fantasy if those guys actually play. But if he loses his foot, does that take some of the allure, some of the greatness? I'm not the greatness, but it does something for your psyche.
Yeah, I think it does, especially right off the bat. I think it's kind of one of those things you get used to. And it's Deion. He'll find a way to make it flashy and turn it into a positive. So I think right off the bat, it would kind of be that shell shock, but it's something we'd all get used to if it happens.
Yeah. So prayers out to him. Hopefully he will be able to overcome this. And like you said, fall camps come in. We're getting closer and closer to the season. So hopefully things, turn out better in that situation. But speaking of Deion, speaking of going into the season, we know that could play a huge role. Having him was going to be a big thing. And now maybe not having him, we got a team that's definitely in transition. A lot of people that were not there last year are now there. And so it's going to be interesting. And he's not the only one that's kind of has a lot on his plate. There's a number of coaches that are on the hot seat. And we got to talk about it, man. We got to ask, Alex, what are some of the names on the hot seat? Is it people that we, some of the bigger names, or are we looking at just some small guys?
I mean, there's some big names that I think should be on this list. And I think there's a couple some of these middle of the road guys looking like a Dana Holgerson from Houston might be on the hot seat, which seems weird because they've been a good football team, but one of these teams that's kind of falling short of expectations, at least what they're supposed to be now. Dino Babers of Syracuse, or Babbers, however you say his name. He's he's your neck of the woods in the ACC there. Oh, yeah. You've pumped out NFL talent, and it hasn't shown results on the field for you guys, for Syracuse. So it's kind of a couple problems starting there. And Neil Brown of West Virginia is the other one I would throw out there right away. You've had guys come in left, right, and center, transfer guys, quarterbacks, all that, and you haven't been able to make it work. That right there just screams hot seat. And especially with that conference being so wide open now and so up for the taking, if they can't make a run at it, it might spell the end for him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. You talk about Dino Babers. Look, you and I both talked about Sean Tucker a year ago and how solid and great he was. Babers has had a couple pieces here and there. DeVito at QB, a couple of guys that potentially could go pro, but just has not been able to keep it together. He's 36-49 overall and 19-39 in the conference over the last 4 years. You know what I mean? And with the exception, I believe, once he hasn't finished over 7th in the ACC, and that you got to do better than that. It hasn't been. Maybe a couple years ago, it was a stout ACC, and maybe it's getting back to that. But we've kind of been on some down years. There have been opportunities for Syracuse to do it. Let's remember they did upset Clemson a couple years back, and I know they took them to the test, like I believe 2 years ago, if not last year. So,
last year it took everything Clemson had to escape them.
Right. So you absolutely have, but you got to do that. You got to do better. You got to do better. You got to get some W's. And I love that you said Neil Brown, my fiance, her family, they all love him. And even Holgerson, honestly, because he came from West Virginia. out there.
Yep.
But I want to stick with that. Holgerson, he was 8-5 this last year, but before that it was
12-win season.
Right. Did his success work against him?
I think it absolutely did, and I think the main reason he's on the hot seat this year is that move to the Big 12. That is added pressure. Moving to that bigger conference against more big-time competition, especially off that 8-5 season.
Yeah,
I think it's a little bit warmer than just warm here. I think it's fairly hot.
Right. And look, we saw he can get W's. He can put it together like he did at West Virginia, and he has to Houston. But you've been up here. You got to keep that stuff up. Winning is contagious, and if you're not winning, they will replace you. And Ben, I love this one too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge Mario Cristobal fan. I loved him at Oregon, and the fact that he was able to come home to Miami. I had high expectations. Alex, I talked to you about it all offseason last year. I was really looking forward to him to do it, and they disappointed me. And I do think in the ACC, where you have a Florida State who's doing well, hopefully in Florida they're doing well, and I know that's not ACC, but that in the state of Florida, there is pressure for them to succeed and win now. He's got his recruits. We thought he had his quarterback in Van Dyke, but he has to get it done, man.
Yeah, and I was right there with you. I was super high on Cristobal. I was thinking that they would push for that kind of going to that top level of the ACC. Obviously, that didn't happen. And again, that was a lot. We also thought Van Dyke was going to be a lot better than he was.
Yeah.
And Ben says it perfectly. Miami is that pressure cooker type job. Yep. If you're not getting it done, they won't hesitate to move on. Right. Now, it might be different with Cristobal, being that he is a Miami guy, all that. But that pressure is absolutely going to be on if he starts out struggling early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely see it. And hey, for him, we hope we can do better. But let's talk about, you mentioned at the beginning when you first started on this, there are some names on that maybe are not on the list because maybe they're at bigger name schools, but they have been struggling. I know last year we talked about Steve Sarkisian and him, I think he had more of a successful season, but not to the standards of Texas. Brent Venables coming from all that success at Clemson and then going to Oklahoma. And look, here's another Eli Drinkowitz that he's talking about. I've heard names like this. Jimbo Fisher's another one. I've heard names like this that you need to, we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe not Elijah Drinkowitz, but at the other three, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But, you got it. Let's go. Hurry it up. It's definitely Jimbo.
Especially Jimbo. You had the number one recruiting class last year. You had 5-star after 5-star after 5-star on that team, and you pulled that performance last year.
Yeah.
Especially after beating Bama the year before. Clock's ticking. He's got to get rolling here. A couple guys we kind of mentioned before the show. Some of these guys are top tier guys, but they've had down years recently. Someone like a Dabo Sweeney might not necessarily be on the hot seat, but he might kind of look elsewhere here. Yeah. My big thing is I still think once Saban's gone, he's taking over at Bama because he played quarterback at Alabama.
Right.
So I think he's next in line for Bama. So I think they might be looking for somebody fairly soon here. My big one that might surprise a lot of people, Ryan Day.
Ohio State.
Michigan and Ohio State, especially Michigan now that they're better, are viewing themselves on that rivalry, Big Ten championships, and national championships. Ohio State has been massacred the last 2 years against us and got into the playoff because USC couldn't beat Utah. Now, they almost beat Georgia. But if they lose to us again and that might cause them to miss the playoff, that might be enough. I don't think it will be, but that's somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And he's one of the top 5-10 coaches in college football.
Right.
But it's one of those schools where your standards are set so high that if you're not meeting that, they might pull the trigger.
That turnover, man, that's crazy to think about that. And we went from Holgorsen, who's bringing success to a team that, isn't really used to national success like he had Houston. And then you're coming to see some of these names. And Jimbo, 2020, they were right outside the Final Four, getting to the CFP. But then when you start saying Dabo Swinney and Ryan Day, who have been two names that have been
juggernauts,
right. I mean, look.
Now, here's my one thing for Ryan Day is we're finally at this point now where there's no Urban Meyer recruits on this roster.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple of years have been Ryan Day's guys. When he still had a lot of Urban Meyer's guys, that's when you saw Justin Fields taking them very close to a national championship appearance, going toe-to-toe with Trevor Lawrence, playing some very good football, still dominating us.
Yeah.
Now that all those guys are out the door, we've obviously seen the tide turn in the rivalry, and back-to-back Big Ten championships that they missed out on.
Mm-hmm.
That might be, especially with the dominance they've had in the Big Ten in general for the last 20-plus years. 3 years missing out on that Big Ten championship might be enough for them to pull the trigger.
Wow. But it shows that level of success, man.
Yeah.
If you get it up that high. Hey, shout out to Matt Patton, who's asking, who are you picking for the Big Ten West this year?
The last year of the Big Ten West as well. Because as the 2024 divisions are gone.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't know. That's a tough one because a lot of it depends on Matt Rule and
this is Nebraska.
Luke Fickell.
Yep.
And what they do at their schools. If Ferentz can get it going at Iowa offensively there.
And that's his next question. Do you think there's any chance he retires this year?
I could see it. He's been there a long time. He's not getting any younger.
Yeah.
I could see it. As for the Big Ten West, for me, it's between Iowa and Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes down to if Iowa allows the offense to do what it can do.
Right.
If it's still that same awful scheme where the tight ends do well, but nobody else does well, then Purdue's taking the Big Ten West. But if
I personally don't think Ferentz is gone. I think he's going to. I think he just can't. He's like Paterno, man. Once you leave, you might pass away, man. Like,
yeah. I like what Iowa has, and I know that's slightly partial to McNamara and Eric All and those guys going there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think McNamara is the best quarterback they've had in a long time.
True.
They always do very well with tight ends. The offensive line's always solid. If you allow McNamara to pass that ball a bit more than Iowa's done, I think Iowa could be a very good football team next year. I'm talking like 8, 9, maybe 10 wins.
Right. I mean, look, your defense and your special teams lead the way each year. You don't need much from your quarterback, I mean, come on. Look, 25 years is plenty. Ask Hayden Fry. Yep. Yep. As far as Big Ten West, for me, you have to put, as long as Iowa and Ferentz is there, that defense is stout. I love what McNamara is bringing. Look, as a Tar Heel fan and as a fan of Cincinnati and what they did a couple years ago, I'm looking at them, man. I'm looking at them to shock the world. We know they have one of the they have one of the top 5 running backs in Braylon Allen, man. And now you got Phil Longo out there who likes to have that fast-paced offense. And we know Luke Fickell, he's a player's coach, and he'll start up some new ingenious type of offense and things like that. So for me, Wisconsin, man. I'm saying watch out
I
for
love
them.
it.
I want to see if they can do it. And if Iowa can get McNamara going, I can see the two of them battling it out. So.
To me, I think the reason Purdue sneaks in there, they've got the best quarterback in the Big Ten West. Hudson Card going to them, I think gives them a massive shot to go win the Big Ten West again this year.
Yeah.
And that comment says it perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because we got to remember they have lost talent. LaPorta was there for how many years and was a dominant force at tight end. Like, they've lost guys and key defensive pieces in Van Ness and
one of the
guy.
Oh, Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell to y'all.
I can't believe it took me that long to think of that.
That's your guy, right?
They lost a couple DBs too, if I'm not mistaken. Some solid, like a corner and a safety, I think. So they're missing some key pieces on that defense, but I mean, Iowa's one of those schools, kind of like Wisconsin. You get those certain positions where they just keep rotating guys in, and they all do well. Better
than McNamara.
Yeah, and that's as a Michigan. I love McNamara, but we saw Hudson Card go toe-to-toe with Bryce Young last year for 3 quarters. So, and he was solid when he played those other games until Quinn Ewers got back. I don't think it's that much of a difference between McNamara and Hudson Card, but I do think Hudson Card's a bit better.
We'll see. Definitely he's going to have a different talent. He's not going to have Bijan. He's not going to have who was there? Roshan Johnson.
Yeah.
Worthy at wide out. We'll see what he brings to the table. But look, speaking of Worthy and speaking of wide receivers, we've been doing our top 5 and our breakdown of different position groups. We started with our top 5 quarterbacks. You see my guy Drake May, definitely one of those guys. We did top 5 running backs a week ago, and this week we are focusing on our wide receivers. Alex, hey, I'm coming to you. I started first last week. Top 5 wide receivers in 2023, and it's two sets of guys that are familiar with each other, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's 2 duos in this top 5 here. I'll go 5-1 so I can get the one out of the way that doesn't belong to one of those 2 schools. I went Dorian Singer of USC.
I like that.
This is a guy that's a very, very solid player. He gets to step into that number 1 role now that Jordan Addison's out the door, and you're playing with the best quarterback in college football. Mm-hmm. I think Dorian Singer's going to have a phenomenal year. Might even slide up to 2 or 3 by the end of the year here. I think he'll be that good. Number 3 and 4 are also from the Pac-12. They're both from Washington. Number 4 for me is Jalen McMillan, and number 3 is Rome Odunes. Odunes was solid last year as, I believe, a redshirt freshman. 75 catches for almost 1,150 yards and 7 touchdowns. And Michael Penix Jr., again, one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. And you got somebody like McMillan on the other side where you can't double cover either of these guys because it's just going to leave the other one on an island and they'll beat that matchup. So I think both those guys are going to eat this year. Number 1 and 2, as much as I hate to say it, are from Ohio State University.
Yeah.
Number 2, Emeka Egbuka. And number 1, this guy is in a absolute league of his own this year, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Mm-hmm.
He was the best receiver in all of college football last year, just not old enough to go to the draft, so he has to come back. He'll be a top 10, maybe even top 5 pick in next year's draft. I think top 5. He's that good. And I'm not excited to play those guys again this year, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, the only thing I'm doubting at Ohio State is the newer quarterback. But when you got 2 guys like this starting off, I mean, good gracious. Yeah, I'm with you on those guys being number 1 and 2. I mean, both guys, have been dominant. We saw what they did in the CFP in the semifinals game. So you have to put them up there. I think my only difference would be I'd put Singer above the second McMillan.
McMillan.
Yeah. And that's just because of the team that he's going to. Singer was able to do all that stuff at Arizona, and now that he's going to be playing with Caleb Williams, and the fact that a couple guys, you got, Addison to the pros and Mario Williams. So, I'm right there with you, man. And I mean, we talked about it. I had it as one of the things I was going to talk about. We talked about best duos. I mean, Ohio State's, 1-2, but then at the same time, it's like, wow, Washington, all right, Michael Penix Jr., come on now.
Yeah. Well, and then if you're talking duos, you have Dorian Singer and Mario Williams at USC is another very good duo. Like Dominic Levitt and Ladd McConkey at Georgia. Like you've got some very, very good duos in college football this year.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, man. And that transfer portal allows that to happen. And you got a lot of these guys moving around. And hey, it makes for exciting football. I'm so excited to see what goes down this year with that. And keep moving on. A wide receiver, man. Who are some names we're not talking about? Who are some of the other guys? Travis Hunter at Colorado.
I thought about putting him.
Yeah, I had him kind of up there. I like our guy that we got, Devontae Walker, I believe from Georgia Tech. Watched him in the spring game. He's going to help out Drake May with that deep ball, man. So I'm excited about that. Who are some guys that are some sleepers?
So I've got a couple smaller school guys and then a couple bigger school guys. For me, Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky. I'm blanking on the quarterback's name right now, but they've got a guy that most people have as the top 10 quarterback.
Austin Reed. I think
yes,
it's Austin Reed or Arthur Reed.
Yeah. So you got Reed to Corley here. I think he's going to be a dynamic combo there. Another one from one of the worst teams in college football last year, Torrey Horton of Colorado State. I've been seeing a bunch of buzz on this guy, so I went and took a look, and he's as advertised. Very good receiver. It just sucks that he's at such a bad school. And and then my two big school guys. Glad to see this guy leave the Big Ten. Keon Coleman, now of FSU. So glad he's gone.
Sorry, Cat.
Sorry, Cat.
Just
but him going from, and again, Peyton Thorne and those guys throwing him the ball, to now he gets Jordan Travis throwing him the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna be a lot to handle. And my other one, mentioned him right before the wide receiver talk here, Xavier Worthy of Texas. Oh, yeah. This guy is a burner. He's got track star speed. If he gets Quinn Ewers throwing him the ball for a full year, because I do still believe Quinn Ewers is the full-time starter this year. You get Ewers throwing that deep ball that he throws so well, and Worthy can just go. I think he's going to light it up this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can for sure see it happening. And I look, I love the picks that you had. Xavier Worthy was another one where I was kind of like, dude, why are we not talking about him in that top 10, top 15 like we were talking about over a year ago? So, but he's one of the ones I think has to get up. Rondé Gadsden out of Syracuse, another one where it's like there's no big name quarterback, so a lot of people don't really know who he is. I mentioned to you, I really want to see Travis Hunter, who was a couple years ago number one DB recruit that flipped now to wide receiver. But in the you could do that when you're in middle school and high school, you know what I mean, and maybe it's some smaller colleges, but when you're playing D1 ball, to switch up to wide receiver against guys that have been playing wide receiver their whole lives and corners, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. But for me, honestly, and shout out to Scott Thaler, Adam Mizzou, Luther Burden out of Missouri. This guy was a playmaker a year ago, and we saw that they were trying to work it out, trying to get it going. We saw, them put up some solid numbers against Georgia and almost get that upset last year. We were all holding our breath on that one. Even Andy and Colin were holding their breath on that one. So I mean he's coming back for action. So I really want to see if he can, do something in this coming year. And there was one other guy, Malik Neighbors out of LSU. over 1,000 yards. We know Keyshawn Butte, I believe he's gone.
Yeah,
he's
in New England.
Exactly. So, hey, this guy has an opportunity to step up. We know who's throwing him the ball, and Jaden Daniels. And we know what that offense can be under Brian Kelly. So he has everything is pointing for him to make a big standout season this coming year, man. So I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah, he's got the ability to throw up a season sort of similar to a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson, one of those guys, because he's got another very good quarterback throwing on the ball. Brian Kelly's going to let them eat offensively. Yeah. And, this is a guy with a good enough year, might be able to sneak himself into the first round of the draft when he eventually goes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you also got to remember, I mean, how many of this top premier secondary of the SEC went to the pros? Keely Ringo, Brian Branch, you got a lot of top tier guys, Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State, a lot of top guys went to the pros, and you got these new crops, and albeit there might be 4 stars used in the SEC, you need some experience, you need some years, unless you're just the next Dion, but that remains to be seen. So we shall see. We shall most certainly see. But look, let's go ahead and let's keep this thing moving. We appreciate you guys sitting here watching us. But it's clear, just like Scott put in the chat earlier, that there's one thing that these people have come for. Okay?
Yeah.
They want to know what's going on, Alex, in the mascot challenge. Oh, man, we're getting down to Sweet 16, Alex. It's getting good.
We are now entering the Sweet 16, so I'll go from top to bottom, left to right in the bracket here. So Butch of Washington State against Mike the Tiger of LSU. I should have left this one for last because that is that massive landslide we were talking about. Yep. Butch only got 3 votes. Mike got a whopping 20. This was our most voted on matchup in this round. Mike easily moves on to the Sweet 16. Wow. Next we have Aubie the Tiger of Auburn versus Shasta the Cougar of Houston. And Aubie is moving on with 5 votes to Shasta's 4. Our first tiebreaker here, Pounce of Georgia State and Willie the Wildcat of Kansas State. They each had 4 apiece, so I had Sean flip a coin, and Pounce won. Pounce is moving on to face Harry and Uga, who beat Duke Dog by a score of 9-5. A little closer than I thought, to be honest.
Yeah. I expected a blowout in that one.
Yeah, me too. Rocky, the Bull of USF, couldn't get it done against Goldie Gopher of Minnesota. Just trying to find that on my sheet here. Where are you? Oh, there we go. Oh, so this was another tie, actually. And Sean flipped the coin again, and it wound up Goldie. So Goldie is moving on. This one makes Sean very happy. Ramses of North Carolina beat Bill the Goat of Navy 11-3. So Goldie versus Ramses in the Sweet 16.
Tar Heels.
The Duck of Oregon and Sebastian the Ibis of Miami, Florida, tied at 5 apiece. We flipped the coin. Sorry, Alec, but the Battle of Mario Cristobal goes to Miami. Sebastian moves on. It was fair. Sebastian faces Bucky the Badger in the Sweet 16 with another coin flip there. 6-6 versus Cy the Cardinal of Iowa State. The coin landed on tails, so it went to Bucky. Top side of the other side of the bracket. The Blue Devil of Duke could not get it done against Big Red of Arkansas, who won 8-3. Big Red Big Red moves on to face one of the people that pulled off one of the bigger upsets, in my opinion, Testudo of Maryland beat Big Al of Alabama 8-3.
How did that happen?
I'm gonna leave the heavyweight matchup for last. That's the other section of this bracket. I'll move down to the next section. Brutus the Buckeye could not get it done, was upset by the Demon Deacon by a score of 8-4. So Demon Deacon moves on and faces Sparty, who won by a score of 10-2 over Nitro of UCF.
And can we please say who were the two people that voted against Sparty?
We two Michigan fans. We'll leave it at that. To be fair, out of this whole set, Nitro was my favorite, so it wasn't just the fact that it was Michigan State that I voted for Nitro. Nitro was my one I wanted to win the whole thing. So, but Nitro is gone. Sparty moves on. Was kind of also hoping for that Ohio State-Michigan State matchup.
True.
Couldn't happen because of the Demon Deacon. And then another upset here. The Army Mules upset Hookem and Bevo of Texas.
Wow.
By a score of 6-4. So Army moves on to face Pistol Pete, who's won 2 in a row. They beat the Stanford Tree by a score of 10-3.
Yep.
And I'll start with the blowout of the heavyweight matchup here. Rocky of Toledo lost 11-1 versus Chief Osceola and Renegade of Florida State. And Florida State will be going up against the winner of the tiebreaker between Sparky of Arizona State and the combo of Boomer and Sooner of Alabama with 5 apiece. Sean flipped the coin. It landed on tails, which meant Boomer and Sooner move on to face Chief Osceola and Renegade. Yep. Wow. Probably the two biggest ones in this entire bracket. Yeah. Have to go through each other in the Sweet 16.
How many times has that been a national championship actual game? Oklahoma and Florida State. Come on.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. But yeah, that's I think whoever wins that might win the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I also thought some of these schools would have got through, and they didn't. I didn't think Testudo would make the Sweet 16, so
right.
Here we are. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this finishes out. I love that we did this.
Yeah.
And because there were so many people, Ash, if you're watching, I'm sorry, we will set up the second one to go after this is done.
Got you.
So we can get other mascots in here. So as we've said before, send us the mascots you want in. We'll pick another 48, get them in. And then that leaves us with about another 40-ish of the div ones. So could almost do 3 whole brackets.
Right.
You'd still have a couple left over, but let us know who you want to be in the second iteration of Mascot Madness, and maybe we'll have the champions go against each other at the end.
I love that idea. Yes, we will definitely do that. So get your votes in. After here, I'm gonna chop this up and make it into a commercial so we can try to put some graphics onto it and really get excited. We're down to the Sweet 16, ladies and gentlemen. So tune in, definitely get your votes in and see who you got. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I'm just saying he plays for him. So we're still in there, baby. Let's go.
I don't have an actual mascot, so I don't have to lose.
Yeah. That's right. Do we put that in there? So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and let you go. We appreciate you being here with us on this Tuesday night, man. We will be back next week to give you some more of the Mascot Challenge and talk more about our position. The next position is tight ends. Yeah. So, Brock Bowers and the rest of the guys.
Yeah, exactly. A lot like this week. It's one clear guy and then who's after him.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we appreciate you being here with us. It's your boy, Sean Spencer. That guy over there, Mr. Alex Lou. Deuce more. Yo, we will see y'all next time. Hey, college football. It's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be closer than it was today. Get ready.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Here we go, people. Peace.